Good afternoon, Captain and Mrs. Duskin, Maggie, Nathan, Jacob, and family and friends. My name is Lieutenant Colonel John Pelleriti. I'm the commander of 3rd Battalion, 20th Special Forces Group. Chief Warrant Officer Michael Duskin is a true American hero. An enormous Green Beret who stood 6'5", 250 pounds. Mike was a fearsome and highly skilled warrior, as well as an extremely loving and devoted father, son, husband, brother, and friend. Many have served their country in uniform, and we are all extremely grateful for their service. Mike Duskin fought for his country. He fought hard for all of us over and over again, with unmatched courage, skill, and tenacity. Chief Duskin and his family represent the very best of America, and we are both honored and humbled by their service and sacrifice. I would like to share some words from the Shawnee warrior chief and poet Tecumseh. I think these words are appropriate for the way Mike lived and for the way he died. Tecumseh said, "So live your life that the fear of death can never enter your heart. Trouble no one about their religion and respect others in their view and demand that they respect yours. Love your life, perfect your life, beautify all things in your life. Seek to make your life long in its purpose in the service of your people. Prepare a noble death song for the day when you go over the great divide. Always give a word or a sign of salute when meeting or passing a friend, even a stranger when in a lonely place. Show respect to all people and grovel to none. When you arise in the morning, give thanks for the food and for the joy of living. If you see no reason for giving thanks, the fault lies only in yourself. Abuse no one and no thing, for abuse turns the wise ones to fools and robs the spirit of its vision. When it comes your time to die, be not like those whose hearts are filled with the fear of death, so that when their time comes, they weep and pray for a little more time to live their lives over again in a different way. Sing your death song and die like a hero going home." Mike Duskin lived fully, he loved deeply, he served completely, and he died like a hero going home. The Oppresso Liber.
Good morning, family, friends, distinguished visitors. My name is David Lanham, and I'm the Command Sergeant Major, 3rd Battalion, 20th Special Forces Group. I wanted to take a few moments to reflect upon Mike during the time he spent serving alongside myself in Charlie Company, 3rd Battalion, 20th Special Forces. From his graduation right out of the Special Forces qualification course, to his service as a junior engineer sergeant on my ODA, Operational Detachment Alpha, 2094, to his first deployment with us to Afghanistan in early 2002. I remember when he first came into the team room in Brooksville. He was literally larger than life. Loud voice, proud of his Ranger Regiment background, proud to be a Special Forces soldier. As one would expect from a good NCO, he came in ready, eager to learn, and willing to work hard. He certainly pushed those of us, like myself, who had been on the team for a few years to work a little bit harder. Nothing like the new guy coming in and trying to outperform you to keep you on your toes. We went to the Special Forces Advanced Urban Combat course together in 2000, where Mike, much to my chagrin at the time, won the overall shooting competition known as the stress test. You could tell that he had a natural, almost instinctive ability behind a rifle, and he loved using it. Shortly thereafter, 9/11 occurred, and Mike was chosen out of a large group of readily available soldiers to serve as a Special Forces engineer sergeant with the members of 320 to to enter the fight, to go into harm's way in Afghanistan. He would continue to go into harm's way many times after that. The art of being a soldier came very easy to Mike, and I always assumed that he would leave our unit to pursue his professional calling full-time, which of course he did when he joined the 3rd Special Forces Group in 2003. Given his love of shooting, it would be fitting that he would spend so much time as an instructor at one of the Army's most extensive and demanding close-quarter battle schools. When I was asked to make this presentation, I decided to keep it focused on the period where I knew Mike as a non-commissioned officer. Mike eventually chose to continue his career as a warrant officer, but I couldn't help think that it was the NCO creed that Mike lived by intuitively. I'd like to share a few facets of that creed with you that I think Mike and all of you would appreciate. No one is more professional than I. I am a non-commissioned officer, a leader of soldiers. Competence is my watchword. My 2 basic responsibilities will always be uppermost in my mind: accomplishment of my mission and the welfare of my soldiers. I will strive to remain technically and tactically proficient. I know my soldiers, and I will always place their needs above my own. I will earn their respect and confidence every day, all day. I will be loyal to those with whom I serve, seniors, peers, and subordinates alike. I will exercise initiative by taking the appropriate action in the absence of orders. I will never compromise my integrity nor my moral courage. And I will not forget, nor will I allow my comrades to forget, that we are professionals. Mike was a leader. Even as a junior soldier in my unit, he displayed the drive, determination, and care for his fellow soldiers that one always hopes to see in great men and great leaders. Mike embodied all of the aforementioned traits in his personal and professional life, and has set an example of dedication, devotion to duty, love, and sacrifice that all of us should strive to emulate. We will miss you, Mike. Dieu presse libère.
Good afternoon. I'm Chief Warrant Officer 2, Derek Ray. I'm currently assigned to 3rd Battalion, 20th Special Forces Group. I have 18 years service in the United States military, multiple combat tours, and this is by far the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my career. Let's talk to you today about my good friend who recently passed away, Mike Duskin. About 3 weeks ago, I'll never forget the night that I was driving home and I received a phone call from Mike's dad. And he said Mike had been killed in Afghanistan. At first, I thought he was joking. And, you know, one of those harebrained things you say, you gotta be kidding me. Not Mike. He's the most tactically sound guy that I know. I mean, he's the warrior's warrior. If I had to pick somebody to go to combat with tomorrow, it'd be Mike Duskin. You'd want him right there by your side. I couldn't believe that I was in shock. I'd known Mike for about the last 10 years, on and off, but I really got to know him in the warrant officer course. I sat right next to him. There's nothing harder for a warrior of Mike's caliber, and some of you officers in the crowd will probably know, than sitting in front of a computer trying to wrestle with PowerPoint. It's not something we enjoy, especially Mike. Throughout the course, I got to know a lot about his family. He'd come in late. Hey, what's going on? A little trouble at the house, but we got it straightened out. Little trouble with the Camaro, but we got it straightened out. I consider that one of the biggest joys of my life was sitting next to that man for 4 months. We had a culmination exercise in which I really got to know him, living in a tent with a guy that big is hard. There wasn't much room for me, let me tell you. And he snores, by the way. Throughout the course, we would try to sneak away and go shoot as often as we could. We'd go over to range 37, which is where I met his son for the first time. I hope you're still scanning left and right after that last shot. He also told me about his love for the Constitution, especially the Second Amendment. It was in the warrant officer course that I also found out he was just a great natural leader. He had no problem saying how he felt, even to superior officers. He was the kind of guy that when he entered the room, just by his presence, he knew things were going to be better. He'd flash that big toothy smile and give that big bear laugh, give you a big bear hug, and you knew you were going to make it through whatever bad day you were having. Mike and I graduated, went our separate ways. He went to 3rd Group. I came back to 3rd Battalion, 20th Group, but we always stayed in touch. We always called, stayed close with one another. He always told me how his detachment was doing, kept me informed. I told him how mine was doing. When I was getting ready to deploy for Afghanistan, I called Mike and I asked him for advice. It was my first deployment as an assistant detachment commander. And unfortunately for me, I was absent a team commander, so that made me the de facto commander. I remember him telling me these words: never send your men to do something you wouldn't do yourself. Think before you speak. I think you learned that one the hard way. Had a successful deployment, came back. Mike was getting ready to go for his deployment. He was on his way down to see his father. I said, hey, anytime you're in town, give me a call, we'll hook up. We did quite often, but I enjoyed our conversations, although they were quick. Excuse me. Before he left, I told him I wanted to see him. I met he and his father not far from here, Montana Grill, over on State Road 21. We had a great lunch. We talked about life, love, family, duty, honor, and commitment. He was ready and eager to go. We finished lunch, he drank his tea, he gave me a big bear hug, flashed that smile again, and I just knew I'd see him again. A better warrant officer I'll never know. I struggled for a long time to find a poem that I felt would be fitting for such a true warrior. And I'll quote Phil Messina. When young men seek to be like you, when lazy men resent you, when powerful men look over their shoulder at you, when cowardly men plot behind your back, when corrupt men wish you were gone and evil men want you dead, only then will you have done your share. Well, CW2 Mike Duskin, a colleague, a brother, a fellow in arms, a Green Beret, a father, a husband, a son. You have done your share.